This week on the show.
Vaccinations are something we're all very excited about, not just in the cruise industry, but within the travel industry more broadly. And we're excited to see the rollout happening in many countries.
The hidden reef that could be a game changer.
Yeah, there's so much coral. Yes.
And fun with fruit in northern Italy.
This is it now. Tell my family I love them.
Hello and welcome to Pemba Island, a little slice of paradise just a few short miles off the coast of Tanzania. I'm here to find out why a new discovery on the bottom of the Indian Ocean could be a game changer for the creatures that live in and around the ever-changing coral reef here. First though,
high waves and ocean views. There was a time when cruising was, well, just cruising, as the industry went from strength to strength, enjoying healthy profits.
A record 30 million passengers worldwide took a cruise in 2019, and that figure was only projected to grow. But then COVID happened, and the whole industry was brought to a halt.
Cruise liners were hit particularly hard during the first wave of the pandemic. In March 2020, the Ruby Princess was one of the first big cruise ships to have a COVID outbreak on a cruise from Australia to New Zealand. Kim Hurley was on board.
So on one level we were like, should we get on the ship? And there was a lot of people cleaning handrails and stuff like that. But I guess our real concern came when we were going up to the Bay of Islands, and then the announcement came over to say that we're turning around. Australia has said that we have to go back to the port that we left from, and that we would no longer be continuing the cruise. They were saying if anybody had any symptoms of cold or flu to go down to the medical centre, but apart from that, we didn't need to worry.
After an 11-day voyage, the Princess Ruby returned to Sydney. The 2,700 passengers disembarked. Some, like Kim Hurley, unknowingly infected with COVID.
Passengers travelled onwards without quarantining, spreading the virus further. At least 28 deaths globally were linked to the Ruby Princess. An official inquiry later identified serious mistakes made by the local health authorities, but the Princess Cruise Company was cleared. By spring 2020, most cruise lines paused their operations. Financial difficulties brought many companies to the brink. British cruise liner Cruise and Maritime Voyages collapsed in the summer. Even smaller, more specialised cruising companies faced hardship. The co-founder of the Majestic line, a company operating in Scotland, has two words to describe the past year.
Absolutely dreadful. We've basically had no income whatsoever. Normally we take on about 50 seasonal staff. We were not able to take them on. Luckily, our bank were very supportive. We took out the business interruption loans, so we've taken on more debt. So it was a dreadful year.
The only way companies like his could stay afloat was to introduce stringent health measures and new hygiene rules on board, in cooperation with governmental health authorities.
The hope was that by forming bubbles of passengers and implementing strict sanitary measures, that travel would be safe.
We were one of the first industries globally to voluntarily suspend our operations back in 2020. And since then, there's been a limited resumption of cruising, for example, in Europe and in parts of Asia, where we've seen the successful application of some of the health measures that we introduced. It includes, for example, mandatory testing of all guests before they're allowed to embark. It includes all of those things that we've become very used to, so things like social distancing, and hand sanitisation, etc., and the use of face coverings. These measures go much further than all other travel sectors and indeed all other sectors in hospitality.
Cruises resumed slowly. Some companies developed the concept of the cruise to nowhere, starting and ending at the same port without stops.
Now that might seem a bit bonkers to you and me if we want to get off and explore a destination, but so many cruise fans just want to be back at sea, just want a change from looking at their four walls. So there are no ports to be called at. It's just being at sea and having that holiday at the sea. So there are ways around it should a port suddenly get locked down due to a spike in coronavirus.
But even cruises to nowhere was struck by COVID cases. A Singapore cruise to nowhere was cut short last December after a passenger tested positive. So how's the cruise industry going to dig itself out of this hole? Last month, the over 50s Saga Cruise Company was the first to announce it would resume its trips in May, but would require all passengers to be fully vaccinated. Other companies have since followed suit.
Vaccinations are something we're all very excited about, not just in the cruise industry, but within the travel industry more broadly. And we're excited to see the rollout happening in many countries. It's probably too early to say whether this will become something that is used by all operators, but currently a number of operators will use it as just one of those mitigations to operate those cruises.
So, should you start booking your cruising holiday? Well, earlier this week, the government announced that international travel will not resume until May at the earliest. But cruise expert Kay Holland believes it's still possible to book now for later.
Every single cruise line pretty much has a policy in place that if you can't go ahead with your cruise because of there's another outbreak of COVID, or God forbid someone in your family comes down with coronavirus, there's a flexible policy. They'll just move you to another booking, or you can get a refund. So book, keep the industry afloat, pardon the pun, and support them and have something for you to look forward to as well.
It's all green blue seas and long sandy beaches. So much beauty and so few tourists, even in normal times. Most of the beachgoers coming to the Zanzibar archipelago head to the main island, which is about half an hour flight from here. Pemba Island isn't very well known, but for anyone interested in what's underwater, it's a great place to be. The reef systems here are some of the most diverse in East Africa. But there's an old familiar story, one we've heard on so many occasions in so many different places. Damage from warming seas, tourism, and fishing is causing harm to the reef. This section has been broken by an anchor. Hassan has been snorkeling here for years. He's heartbroken at the increasing damage being caused to the reef.
It was the reef. It was good before, but for now, there's a bit to be destroyed. The fishermen, they destroy the reef by putting the anchor on the coral, and they pull it. They destroy the coral, and sometimes they use net for fishing in the corals, and also they use fishing line through along the coral, and they pull it, they break down the corals. For now, the number of the fishermen is high. They're coming along the reef and they're fishing everywhere in that area. They destroy it.
Damage from local fishermen is only the tip of the iceberg. Scientists predict that by 2050, we'll have lost 90% of the world's reefs due to global warming. So every single inch is precious. But there's some cause for hope.
Okay, we are about a 50-minute boat ride west of Pemba Island, and we're just about on top of something that marine biologists are really excited about.
In recent months, scientists have discovered this cool spot in a warm sea. It's cool because of meltwaters running off Kilimanjaro up in the far north of Tanzania. As a result, undersea life here is thriving.
There are a variety of marine species which benefit and turn this area to be their home, including commercial fish and other endangered species like a dugong. We have spinner dolphins.
Spinner dolphins would be a wonderful thing to see here, and I'm hopeful. They congregate in pods of up to 1,000 and leap out of the water, sometimes spinning multiple times in one leap. We've got our eyes peeled.
Here in Pemba Channel there are so many of them, but unfortunately for almost 30 years they have been overfishing. So the discovery of this area could be a game changer, and they're going to turn this area to be their home.
We're 10 to 20 meters down, so the light's a little bit dimmer than I'd like, but it's immediately obvious to me that the reef's in great shape. The coral's abundant, and it's crawling with life. I've done a lot of diving around the world and seen a lot of unhealthy coral. With the exception of the reefs around Indonesia, this is the most impressive I've seen.
Wow! It's really nice. Yeah, very nice. There's so much coral. Yes.
Now it's been identified, the next step is how to best protect it, not just from the climate, but from fishing and tourism.
So lots of fish, lots of coral, but no spinner dolphins. This place is very special, newly discovered, and because I guess it's quite sensitive, would you expect tourists to be able to visit here?
Sure. Actually, we'd like to share the beauty of this place with the rest of the world. But before moving to that step, we need to come up with a strategic plan on how we can protect it, because that could be the challenge for the future.
This sanctuary may not be the answer to the many threats these ecosystems are facing, but it's encouraging news in the short term.
So, with the worst of the weather behind us, hopefully, this is the time of year that we on the programme would normally be looking forward to a full calendar of spring and summer events in the UK and Europe. Over the years, we've sailed in a Belgian bathtub race.
I don't know, I'm just going to keep rowing.
Painted the town black at an English goth weekend.
Some of these costumes are just so impressive.
And enjoyed a glass or two at Switzerland's craziest, most colourful wine festival.
Look at this atmosphere!
Unfortunately, with many of us facing continuing coronavirus restrictions for months to come, most of these events will have to be cancelled for another year. I caught up with Stefano from the Battle of the Oranges Carnival in Italy, which was due to take place this weekend.
It's a huge loss, you can imagine. It's something holy, sacred for us. During this carnival, it's very traditional to wear the red hat. You could see all the people going around with the red hat. So it's something that they feel inside, in deep, and it's something that you can't cancel. You can cancel the carnival, but you can't cancel the soul and the feeling of the carnival.
A full year ago, I went to northern Italy, back when it was on the verge of Europe's first coronavirus lockdown, just as the 2020 battle got underway. This is Ivrea, a peaceful riverside town at the foot of the Alps in the Piedmont region of Italy. For most of the year, residents here live a relatively calm life. But once a year, before Shrove Tuesday, nets are hung and windows are boarded up as the town gears up for 2 days of orange-throwing carnage. Now, it's not clear when or why oranges became the weapon of choice, especially when you consider the lack of citrus trees in this region. But that doesn't seem to bother the locals, who get through thousands of crates worth over the 2 days.
But there is more to this annual celebration than a giant food fight.
Can you tell me, first of all, Gabriella, what are the origins of this festival?
It's a mixture of history and legend. There was a very unpopular tax which is named Molinaria. It's a tax on the flour.
As well as rising taxes, legend has it that Ivrea used to be ruled by an evil baron who enacted an archaic law that gave him the right to spend the night with brides before they wed. When the baron tried his luck with the miller's daughter, no doubt to the annoyance of her groom-to-be, she decapitated him, prompting the town-wide rebellion at the heart of today's celebrations.
It's a historic parade, and it's very important for all people because the two parts, orange battles and historic part, are together.
What do you think today the battle represents? What's it about, really?
It's a time in which it's possible to show that Ivrea is a community. If you see your friend, you throw oranges, really are...
But people get hurt. Does that matter?
No, no.
I'm not entirely sure that's true. But luckily for me, one team has agreed to let me ride in their cart during the infamous battle, so I'll soon find out the hard way. I meet my fellow teammates at a farmhouse where they're prepping for the big showdown.
So, this is the first time I've been on this cart. This is going to be my carriage. This is where I will be the baddie, and I will be going through town, throwing these things at other people. I'm an obvious target, that's the whole point. Whoa.
But first, a trial run.
What am I doing? Am I throwing it at them?
Right! You've asked for it! You got darted, haven't you? Wow! It really whacks you! Whoa! And that is just a soft trial. Whoa!
As I recover and psych myself up for the battle, my comrades prepare the cavalry. Surprisingly, it's actually the presentation of your cart and horses that you're judged on during the battle, not your orange-throwing prowess.
Okay, so we've had the lunch. People have had some drinks and whatever to build up some sort of Dutch courage. I've got now my armoury on, my insignia, my helmet is here. I've been given lots of advice. Can I be honest? I am really quite nervous now because I've got a feeling this is going to be pretty painful. However, I do have a companion here with me.
Hi.
Hi, Raphael.
Hi.
You've done this a lot of times.
Yeah.
What's your advice to me?
Just to keep calm, just keep going.
Okay.
Don't stop moving.
Don't stop moving.
And don't be afraid.
Yeah.
It's just full pleasure.
Very easy to say this.
It's 100% pleasure.
It's 100% pleasure.
You will see.
Masochistic pleasure,
Yeah.
I think. Well, I'm on the cart and we're nearing the city and the tension is rising. It's almost better that I have no idea what to expect because this way I can feel no pain, no anxiety yet. But I've got feelings. This is not going to be fun. This is going to be painful.
You see the others?
Yeah.
Beep! Hurrah! Hurrah!
We stop on the outskirts of the town for the horses to be checked over. As my fellow team members say goodbye to their loved ones, there's a definite feeling of heading off to war in the air.
This is it now. Tell my family I love them.
It was all a blur. The citrus smell, the noise, the adrenaline. I've no idea how long I was being pelted at.
Wow, that was exhilarating. It was mad. It was like being in a weird dream. And all the advice that my compatriots on the cusp gave me was brilliant. Breathe, keep throwing, keep throwing. And guess what? I was okay. Fantastic, really good feeling.
As beautiful as it is here in Pemba, that's all the time we have left for this week.
Next week, Ade's here to look back at some of our favorite trips around Europe. From Rajan's stoicism on board the continent's fastest ride, to Krista's vigorous workout on board an ancient Greek warship.
Remember, you can join our adventures by following us on social media. We're on all the regular platforms. But for now, from me, Mike Corey, and the rest of the team here in beautiful Pemba Island, that's goodbye.